What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Honor Among Thieves. As always, your host, Nelson Rodriguez Jr., coming at you with another exciting episode, one I've been looking forward to. This week, we have Ruamen De La Rua, former commander with the police force of Marion County, also a current active police officer with the city of Miami. Get into some great stuff. He's had a long career, had a lot of run-ins with some crazy stuff. Love the stories of the 80s in Miami when he first became a cop. Those are pretty wild. Stay tuned for those. And stay tuned for other pretty cool stories. He was a canine cop, some drug cases, stuff like that. We're going to get into it. So none other than former Miami-Dade Sheriff candidate, Ruamen De La Rua. So say goodnight to the bad guy.
You looking at the bad guy. This the last time that you ever see a bad guy like me. You don't have the guts to be who you wanna be.
Okay, how do I look, babe? Am I away from my belly?
You look like you're on vacation for a while.
Bro, there's so many people that called and wanted to do interviews and talk. Bubba, I have canceled the world. I just been with the family. And cuando you said, hey, would you interview? You're the only one that I will give a time. I don't care if ABC called, Channel 10.
I appreciate that.
Solo hypocrites that we had to deal with. And that's what I told my wife. I said,
thanks, Ruamen.
Anytime, any place, this is the place. Whatever you need me to do
Thank
for
you.
you know I owe you big.
Yeah.
Because, but ABC had called, Channel 10, Miami Herald.
Yeah, balance.
Get one of the interviews.
No.
Nah, I don't even talk
That's
about
typical, though. That's how people from the news are, you know?
Yeah.
It's,
well, we found out that the media has a lot of control.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You know?
It's but yeah, I mean, thank you. I appreciate you giving me the time of day.
No, thank you. I really appreciate your stance and where you're headed, you know. And I think everybody needs to be aware and stay tuned and come to this channel and share because you're going places.
I appreciate that, Ruamen. Thank you. So you and I met through Linda and Bella.
Yes.
And good friends. They also record here. So
I love them ladies.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Very, very upstanding citizens in the community.
Yes.
So Ruamen, I've had as of lately, a lot of ex-cons, reformed criminals, that kind of stuff. But you're the first police officer I have. So
well, thank you so much. Thank you, and I'm all about rehabilitation. You know, hey, listen, we're not all perfect, but if you're not perfect and you're willing to, you know, I'm religious, so if you,
of course,
you give your life to God and you try and do the right things, I'm all for it. For those thugs, even police officers that don't want to change and they want their old ways, hey, hell with them. You know, but for those and for your program and your platform and for those that have done time, and the Corrections Institute is not a great place to be. Not even to take a prisoner or an arrestee there for 30 minutes. So I can only imagine, and, you know, my heart goes out because there are a lot of people that have done crime, but I don't think it should have been as long as they are in there.
The punishment didn't fit the crime.
No. I mean, I think there were, in today's society, they say we have programs to rehabilitate. They don't. I know that for a fact. So how can you punish somebody for a crime and then expect when they come out to help them? They don't. I mean, between getting jobs, I mean, and you know, and this is all from my 44 years of experience. You know, you can't get apartments.
Nobody wants to hire you.
Nobody wants to hire you. You know, the living arrangements alone, think about it. I mean, it scares me, and I tell my kids and I tell everybody I talk to, you don't want to go to jail. Because when you do and you come out...
You're taking 10 steps back. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they don't open your arms. So, you know, where am I going to live? You know, renters don't want to rent for you. You're a liability, but yeah, you did your time. So I'm big on rehabilitation, and no matter what programs I'm involved in, that is my key. I don't look at everybody as criminals and good guys. I think I see everybody as equal, and everybody has an opportunity to better themselves. And if I can do anything for them, I've always done it.
I mean, that's basically the theme of my show is redemption.
Yeah.
You know, like I hook you with the crazy story with the drug dealer and the cop story, but ultimately I just want to show people that people who have done crazy things in life can change.
For sure. And I've seen it.
You know, and if they have the ability to redeem themselves, there's really no excuse for almost anyone, you know.
Correct.
There's almost no one who's too far gone. Almost. I mean, in my opinion, there's
a minority.
Yeah, that
you
once
can't forget about it.
Yeah,
forget about it.
Yeah. There are certain things you can't come, but for the most part, people who break the law, you know, there is a way to come back from it.
There is even a minor traffic violation. You know, it depends. You know, a 60-year-old grandmother gets stopped and they give her 5 tickets. That's the end of the world for her. You know, those are things that we need to put in place
100%.
to help those. Now that person that gets stopped every day and doesn't learn, okay, that one's gonna take a ride, and he or she's gonna take, you know, most of the paperwork. But we don't have that, and a lot of violations that happen. You know, the possession of marijuana, you know, people are doing a lot more time than the fraud that's being happening at the HOAs. You know what I'm saying?
Which is a huge issue.
It is. It's a big issue, but they arrest them. They say the big hoopla on media, oh, we've arrested so-and-so for HOA. But if you really peel the onion back, what happened to the case? It was dropped. Never served time. You know, but the little possession of marijuana, he's doing, you know, 364 days in the county jail.
And that's like medicinally legal already in the state of Florida.
We need to get over that. You know, I know that a lot of programs, they were saying about civil citations with that and this and that. But bottom line, we need to focus on rehabilitation, not only with the criminals that have done their time and come out, and also the homeless. You know, there's so many issues, but I think rehabilitation is key. And I think the jails, the county jails, the state jails, the federal jails need to do a better job on making sure that you're equipped of coming back into our civilization, because I live here. Shoot. Hey, listen, I don't care if you were arrested for a felony. You did your time. You're rehabilitating. We start fresh. It's not always like that. I'm sure you can attest to that.
Of course. And it's funny. I get different reactions, right? Like when for example, if they find out I'm friends with you, I try to tell people the world is too rigid nowadays. Like everybody sees everything as black and white. Just because I broke the law and I went to prison and he's a police officer doesn't mean we can't be friends. He was my adversary at one point.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make him my enemy. That was because I was in the wrong and I broke the law, and he was the one that, you know, he was on the other side and he has to maintain the law. But that doesn't make him my enemy, you know?
Yeah.
Just like there's certain situations where some cops are in the wrong, that doesn't mean all cops are in the wrong. I think that black and white mentality nowadays of like, oh, this is the way and that's not the way, it gets us in too much trouble. I think to agree with you, if you just become a little bit more of a human and you look at things objectively, you'll notice that each situation is different. You can't treat, and on my side of things, if someone went to jail for wire fraud and someone who went to jail for a sexual assault, it's different. You can't treat that the same. It's the same thing with police officers. There's good and bad. I mean, you know, there's great police officers who have a great record and have great careers and do great things in the community, and then there's corrupt cops. I mean, it's great. There's a lot of gray. You have to treat things based on a situation, like a situational basis. You can't generalize.
Correct.
You can't generalize.
But I think in order for the world to be better, we both have to be on the same page.
100%.
And I don't. They say we are, but I'm telling you, I got 44 years of law enforcement. It's not the same till today. I mean, the reason that the police have lost their respect is because all the chiefs, majority of the chiefs, there's a minority part that are true and back the police officers and police women to doing the right thing and back them up when the citizens are wrong.
Right.
But there's a majority that they don't care what law enforcement has to say now. It's more like it's a customer. The customer's always right.
Right.
You can't treat that way. You can't treat law enforcement that way. And that's what's gone. That's what's happened. And we've lost control.
Right.
So you always need somebody to be the pillar and say, listen, right is right, wrong is wrong. You're not going to talk to our officers like that.
Right.
And if you do, you're gonna reap the
consequences.
The consequences of that. So what happens is there's laws in the books since I've been a policeman back in '84. Okay, that resisting violence. I mean, resisting violence without or resisting arrest. I'm sorry,
Right.
resisting arrest. That law has been there in the books, but because the chiefs were weak and the law and the police officers couldn't do their job, what do they come up with? They come with the Halo Bill. The Halo Bill now says that if you're interrupting in a police investigation, 25 feet, you're going to go to jail. Nelson, I don't see the difference. Resisting without is the same as the Halo Bill. But because all the heads were weak enough not to back their officers, the federal government involved, or the state Congress passed a legislation that now we have the Halo Bill. If you look at it, it's no different than resisting. It's because they wanted to gain power instead of just saying, listen, resisting we're out. If for those media services that go out and harp on police, it's a resisting without charge. And the state attorneys has their job to prosecute them. That was it. That's all we needed. And for somebody to be strong and say, listen, you're going to violate the law, we're going to arrest you. But nobody said that. They kept doing what they did. And now that's why we have such a media frenzy against the police. Even the police, the minute they see a camera, they don't want to talk.
Right.
But yeah, we're supposed to bridge the gap on community relations. But I'm telling you, I'm a policeman. I have a camera on. I don't want to talk to you. Where back in the 80s and 90s, we can talk about whatever. So think about it. The law enforcement community is hindering our community relations process.
Right.
Till today. So I think we need to do a better job.
I think so too. And going back to what you said about community relations, I think it goes both ways. Cops are scared to do their job nowadays, but also citizens are scared to, don't want to associate with police. Like, it goes both ways.
Correct.
It's like this vicious circle now where I don't want to be with you. You don't want to do your job. So, I mean, it's just that leads to literally the collapse of a community.
It is. And then again, if we have the stakeholders are citizens. Listen, citizens are number one. If I was a chief and you lived in my district and you call, hey chief, I need my sprinkler system to be turned on. There's no reason why I can't tell one of my deputies or officers, hey, listen, go to Nelson's house and please turn on his sprinklers. Where is that issue? But what happens now is the citizens are calling the police. The police are not showing up, not because they don't want to, but they get more trouble responding. Can you imagine if they call the police and say, can you turn my sprinkler on? And they go, they're going to go, I'm not going to do that. That's not my job. But really, that is your job. We need to cater back to where the citizens call and we respond and we take care of them. And then the citizens in return, they need to respect us. When we give you an order, whether it's a traffic stop, whether you're black, white, Chinese, or yellow or anything, there's rules. And if you step out of those rules, we as a community need to pull you back in and say, hey, we're not going to tolerate that.
Right.
And in return, I think the law enforcement needs to be more involved in their little districts and know the people that they're working with. Because what happens is I could be working in your zone for 10 years and I've never seen you. I don't even know anything about you. But it's incumbent to us to go out and reach the community. And I think rehabilitation and working together is what we need to strive for.
I agree. So you said you became a cop in 84?
In 84, I started, actually, my mom, rest in peace, was a nurse and she was a single parent. And, being around the nursing profession, and it comes nurse and police. And I lived in the projects in New Jersey, so I saw a lot of bad and good. And ever since I was 5, I knew that I wanted to be a police officer. So when we came down here to Hialeah, when I turned 14, there was the police explorers that the Boy Scouts at the time were that ran that program. And I started at 14 years old at the city of Miami. And it's so funny because the city of Miami Police Department was just built in 1977.
Wow.
And it's still standing today. And that's what actually got my foot in the door. So I volunteered from 14 to like 18, with the Orange Bowl, directing traffic. I was a punk. Matter of fact, I think Calle Ocho was like 2 years in the running.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it started in 1977. So I was a little kid, like in 1978, 1979.
I think it's going on now.
Yeah. Well, it was last week.
Oh, okay.
Pero I was there as a kid with the community involving 14 years old. And I would tell people, hey, you can't drink. What the hell am I going to do at 14 years old? But they saw the presence. The police culture was different then. But I learned the foundation of, hey, listen, you may be big or bad, which I think I was 120 pounds skinny, and I don't think I was big and bad. But I think it showed me how to deal with whatever situation came. So I graduated school, Hialeah, Miami Lakes. And then graciously, I used to work at the Omni as a security officer.
Oh, across the street.
Yes, sir. 3601. Oh, no.
1501.
1501 Biscayne Boulevard. And then the city hired me in 1982 as a public service aide. So I was actually getting paid for something that I love to do. And I don't remember what I was getting paid. I don't know, $12,000 a year to do that job in the city.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, young, with the problems we have today. And graciously in 1984, back then you didn't have to reapply if you worked for the city. You just write a red line memo, and the powers to be will send you to the academy. So I did that process. I got in the academy in 84 and 89, January 25th of 1985. I graduated and hit the streets of Miami. And I worked every district here in the city. And at that time, we had Los Marielitos with a boat lift.
Yeah, that must have been wild.
No, we had the Jamaicans. We didn't have that too much Haitian involvement in crime at the time. Pero the Cuban cartels, the Marielito, the Jamaican posse, los Colombiano, cocaine, marijuana. I mean, policemen killing people. It was crazy.
Was homicide as out of control in the 80s as like we hear about it?
Yeah. Matter of fact, yes, it was out of control because of the drug wars. And then it was out of control because some of the law enforcement that was supposed to be doing their job were involved. So nobody was protecting nobody, and the criminals were out of control. And then it's funny because I remember in the 80s, 95, to get to the Orange Bowl, that's how you came to the Orange Bowl and got there. But there were so many robberies there from that time span to the time you get to Orange Bowl. So many robberies.
From I-95 to the Orange Bowl, in that area?
Yeah, you know how you get down on I-95 to 8th Street? Yeah.
Yeah, Little Havana. Yeah.
The robberies were out of control right there in front of you. So what happened, and if you Google it, you'll see that Florida Highway Patrol was called in. Nobody could figure out, no big leader could figure out, how are we going to crush this crime? So what happened at the time, the state came in and said, okay, not only that the state will help us because we have too many murders, they were helping us because we were overcrowded on murders and the robberies. So what happens is you had Florida Highway Patrol taking care of calls while we did the other stuff, while we investigated. And so it was a big melee. So
there was a serious, like you were understaffed massively, like the crime was way more crime than the cops could handle?
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's not that we had too much crime. I think we didn't know how to handle it at the time. Because I think we focused on the wrong thing. And again, I was 20, 21, 22. I just thought the world of police work. But now that I've been an administrator and I've looked back and I got 44 years, I see that we could have done better. Even today's society, we can do a lot better with criminal with criminal activity that the citizens are complaining about, there's a lot of more things that we can do that I think we'll see.
So you said you became a cop at 19? No.
I was 20. I was 20 in the academy. Matter of fact, I entered the academy. Back then, to become a policeman, you write a letter to the bosses. And it's funny because my boss was Assistant Chief Robert Alba. And I gave him the papers. I said, and I worked for him in his office. I said, would you recommend me to become a policeman? And he goes, no. I'm like, okay. So I did other channels. There was another chief that I sent a letter to. Thank God he blessed my heart and put me in the academy. I was 20. I wasn't even a citizen. I was a resident.
You were a resident, right?
And that big year, that's when...
that's right, because you came from Cuba when you were like 4.
No,
right?
2. In 1966.
1960, okay.
So I wasn't even a citizen. My mom wasn't. My dad was at the time. And it was the big Orange Bowl swearing in back in the 80s. I think it was it Reagan? I think it was Reagan.
Yeah. He was from 80 to 88, I think.
Yeah, so I was...
84, it was the second time he got elected. Yeah.
Correct. So I was there for the swearing in the police academy. And I was 20. And then in January 10th was my birthday. So I was 21 and I graduated on the 25th. So all this happening in my life is meant to be, and I always thank God for that process. So what happens is I go to the academy, I come out, I hit the streets, Little Havana, the North End. We only had a few districts and there were numbers.
That was the part of town you were assigned to when you became a cop originally?
Yeah, when I came out, they assigned me to Little Havana Midnights. It was 50 sector back then. And we're talking about the crime was rampant. You turn around your corner. I remember on 5th Avenue and Flagler, where the Firestone used to be on 12. You turn around and there's people stabbing each other, shooting each other.
Holy shit.
The cocaine was out of control.
Right?
Yes, out of control. But that was live. We didn't have cops back then. The media cops. Yeah. Everything was live as you got in your car, and the minute you're getting in a chase. Really, the shootouts, believe it or not, weren't
that crazy.
No, not like it is here. At least with police. They respected us, they didn't want us to stop you.
But but criminals would shoot each other though, right?
Oh yeah, okay. Like I said, on the road, and you can be driving by and they can see the police car. They don't care. They were committing crime in the front.
But they would never attack police officers. They would run. Or
No, they would run. That's what I was saying, that you didn't have a lot of police involved shootings or uses of forces.
Unless it was maybe like a corrupt cop or something like that.
Well.
In some cases?
Well, yeah. I mean, we had those cops that were killing people and throwing them in the river.
Right, the Miami River cops.
River cops.
No, that's wild.
And they were working with you. They were sitting in the same room with you and you didn't know nothing.
Was that before you got hired?
No, that was part of the crews that I've partook in them.
That's crazy.
That I was like, I'm sitting next to the biggest guy that they arrested there, Cuello or Garcia, Scarface.
That's funny.
They're in roll call and I don't know what they're doing. I'm just a young kid.
Right. You're just doing your job.
Just doing my job, and they were doing the big stuff. And then it came out that I remember one day that all of a sudden I'm on roll call because everybody would go to Central roll call. All these Corvettes with the fish with the.
They drove up to work like at the police station. In Corvettes?
Because we drove our own private vehicles. We didn't take home cars like we did.
They were driving Corvettes.
No, check this out. One day, we go to roll call, and you go from home to roll call, and there's by Central, you all park. One day, I show up at roll call at 9:00, and there's so many Corvettes with with those tails, those fin tails.
Yeah.
They're like at least 5 or 6. They're unusual. I'm like, what the heck? So I didn't make any note about it. I just go to roll call, come out, and then a week later, all these people get arrested because they were doing tumbes. They were killing people. And I'm like, and they were buying houses out west. Bro, I think as a policeman, I made $29,000. I live by myself.
This guy's driving a brand new Corvette.
New Corvette.
Buying a house.
Buying houses in horse country. That's where... and and they're taking calls with you. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. So that's what happened in that era. But I think it wasn't the leadership. I think it was just it was out of control. I think
get
it was
I mean,
mentally.
with the amount of money, it's just temptation at the end of the day. I don't
Yeah.
think they shouldn't have done it, but with that, when someone throws that amount of money in your face, it's like, and then you're a cop. I get it.
and it goes against integrity.
Yeah.
Whether you're not a cop or you
Or
are
a normal person, yeah.
you have to know right from wrong. And I
get it.
think we didn't have programs in place that you can come back and say, listen, I'm having issues. But there again, look what they hired. People from the street.
Exactly.
It's not, the FBI is no better, and they pick people that are scholars, that go to colleges and universities.
Right.
They're no better than us. The thing is that, listen, when you're a street kid and growing up and hard, you know how hard it is. And when somebody offers you, I don't know, $200,000, but I've always said, like, listen, you can't do both. Be man. And it's like in marriages. Listen, if you don't want to be with your spouse, be grown up enough, man or woman, and say, listen, I don't want to be with you, versus doing everything else that happens in the way.
Right, like be in and out. Don't.
And with the criminals too. I mean, plenty of people I've arrested for drugs, for fraud, for burglaries, and I always tell them, listen, okay, you made your money, you're the big doper or the kingpin, but you need to stop. You need to figure out, listen, I did what I did. I need to move on because it's going to catch up to you. Same thing with the police. I tell the police the same thing. You think that nobody's watching you, and before we had cameras, that people did whatever they want to. I've always held myself to people watching, and I always try to do the best thing. And if I don't, I take responsibility and move on. A lot of people didn't do that back in the 80s. So going back to the chief that told me that, hey, I'm not going to approve you.
Right.
Long story short, goes on, his daughter was a dispatcher for the city, right? I ended up marrying her, and he became my father-in-law.
Look at that.
And thank God he's the one that taught me the foundation. He was a chief when he retired in 84. He's the one that taught me how to handle myself, my foundations, my education. And thanks to that man, which died in 2016, I am who I am today. So
it's amazing.
So that's
So walk me through a little bit how you come out of the academy, you come into the Little Havana district. The day-to-day sound pretty wild. You're seeing people get stabbed. You're seeing people get robbed. You're seeing drugs running rampant all over the place. I mean, walk me through like the progression. I mean, was there more crime as you kept on throughout those 84, 85, 86? All right, guys, taking a quick break from the podcast to talk to you about Gus Villa Jewelry. Yo, let's be real here for a second. If you're rocking plain jewelry in Miami, of all places, you are doing it 100% wrong, my boy. Step your game up with Gus Villa Jewelry, the plug for real Cuban link gold and silver chains. And of course, the cleanest Rolexes in all of Miami. This isn't factory made or watered down or any of that stuff. This is high quality, custom, handmade stuff that shines from here to the moon. It turns heads, starts conversations, it makes you look fresh. Gus has something that'll level up your whole vibe. And because you're locked in here with us at Honor Among Thieves podcast, you're getting a hookup. Use the promo code Montana at checkout. Get 5% off your entire order. That's right, 5% off. Go check them out at GusVillaJewelry.com or pull up on them in the Diamond District down here in downtown Miami. GusVillaJewelry.com. Again, that's GusVillaJewelry.com. And tell them your boy Montana sent you. Gus Villa Jewelry. Now back to the podcast.
Well, yeah, there was still crime galore. I remember we used to call them 332s. That means somebody got shot, whether they died or not. It used to be where, there's a process that you go, respond, you tape it out, you try to aid the victim, you call fire rescue, you call the world, everything happens.
Right.
It's a long process. It was getting so bad that we were like professional 332 responders, because I can come to this one and then in 5 minutes they have another one. I do what I do and leave. It was crazy. It was crazy. The process was crazy. And we knew, that you could have a shooting in progress right now, take care of that, and there's another one. And they were happening all over the city. It's not like, shoot from the Grove to the north end, to Little Haiti. Now they call it Little Haiti.
Right.
So nobody was immune to the 332 shootings in progress at that time in the city.
That's pretty wild.
And the police, we didn't have that much. Oh, what did we have? We had a radio, a PR-24, a nightstick, and a gun. Now you have people with flat jackets, with tourniquet,
Because of tasers
and tasers,
and pepper spray.
and we didn't have all that. Well, all we had is our car. We responded, our tape, and we had professionals that when you call them, they did their job. Crime scene, the detectives, and the patrol. But it wasn't uncommon for me to handle at least 3 scenes, and I'm talking about scenes within a 10-hour period.
That's insane.
Yeah, every day.
Did you guys have dash cams back then?
No.
No?
We had...
I would have paid to watch the dash cam from a cop in the 80s in Miami. That would have been
We didn't
nuts.
have them. Matter of fact, it was LA and us that had computers. They called them the MDTs. And they were big computers. I liked them. But the thing is, it never worked. So what we ended up doing is, and there was a lot of involvement with the drug trade, with the corrupt police.
Right.
We would text. It was more of a texting. I would text the dispatcher or another policeman, and it was more used for that. It wasn't really used to run cars or run people because it was too much. And then back then, we used to call in our reports. So they gave us a quarter, or you'd hit 911 to transfer you. So you'd see a lot of policemen on the corner when we had phones.
Paying a payphone?
But yeah, payphone, calling in our reports. So there's a lot of stuff that we didn't have, but I think it ran efficient enough. The people knew they don't mess with the police.
Right.
The police had power, and the world made it. It made it work. There's some instances like the corrupt policeman, like the beating for McDuffie. Stuff that it's not stopped today that we have that I don't think anybody can control. You can't control. And the psychological part of law enforcement, when you get hired, you go through a psychological process, and it's one company that does everybody. So, but sometimes you can fail, sometimes you can pass.
Right.
So to me, that doesn't make a difference, because for those who passed and commit those horror crime as a policeman, why are we needing the psychological part of it?
Right.
And if a criminal's in jail and they're not getting the rehabilitation psychologically, it's not going to help them out in the real world. So we need to focus back on trying to help both sides in order to make the world a better place.
Right.
But in the 80s, it was just crazy how crime was rampant. And then, I left in 87, but you would think where I moved to was going to be a podunk county, and they made national news several times. The crime did not stop.
So you were a cop in Miami from 84 to 87. So
Correct.
3 years. When you moved in 87, you moved to Central Florida?
Yeah, to Ocala, to Marion County.
Okay.
Which was real rural, very white. That's why you see I'm very country. I'm in the lifespan there. I was so fast moving pace here that when I went up there, it's sort of like I had a blackout because I was so used to the moving pace. And over there we'll get to it next week. And that waiting period was killing me. I mean, I ended up adapting to it, and I love them for it. And I think that instead of gaining age, you lose age. So you go in there at 20 and you're 10.
Right.
So you never gain and I think that's what's helped me, to today. I've taken a little reprieve where I'm just chilling right now.
What made you want to move to Ocala?
Well, again, was my father-in-law.
Okay.
He retired, and I had horses here. I was a horse owners. I had a couple of horses, and up there was beautiful. I would go up there on the weekend because I get out of here. I always said if I can live like in a farm and then work the city, I would be good. Like Redlands. I didn't know at the time.
Right.
So I had horses, so I go up there every other weekend. And then one thing led to another. Say, hey, why don't you come up here and work? I'm like, hell no. I'm not doing that. And I don't know what happened. Again, God led me to, I applied before you know it. I got hired in 87, July of 87. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So country, backwards. You would think that Miami was so progressive. that I don't know if I could have stayed there. So every year I wanted to come back home. Every year I wanted to come out. And then, things happen. I become a deputy, first Hispanic deputy on canine, on motors, on detective. And things led to 26 years of service where I ended up getting my education, my beautiful wife, my family, my work experience. I became a commander of several districts. So God had my path, but the crime was still the same. You still hear the chases that Miami were getting into. So what I missed out was 90s to 2013 because I retired. I came back in 2013, and Nelson, it was crazy because I'm like a kid. I thought I was like in Hollywood, as a visit because I've always wanted to go to Hollywood. I even applied for LAPD at one time at 40 when I was 40 years old because I love that, police history.
Right.
So when I come back, I'm older now, but the city has not changed one bit on the process of being a policeman. I thought it was going to be different, but it wasn't. It's the same cars, the same system, the same prisoner processing. So what I would do is I would go to calls and I would take pictures. Oh my God, look at like Omni. Oh, let me go see the Omni. I was more of a visitor working courtesy to the City of Miami Police Department. So it was great for me to come back, but the crime is still there. We still have the same crime. The community is not together. You would think out of all those years that we have a better standing with our community. We don't. They're still working on how can we better our community relations. It's 2025 already. When?
Right.
So I think it starts with the partnerships between the businesses, the residents, and law enforcement.
So going back to, because I remember you saying, we're friends at this point. I've heard you say in a few interviews that you've worked the street, you've worked the jails, you've worked it was for, what was it?
Well,
You've worked the jails, the street, the
courts, the streets, the jails. What else?
And I think it was like administration because you retired as a commander up north.
Administration, patrol, corrections, and court services.
Which is rare. It's not common mostly.
No, but there again, in the sheriff's culture, you do a lot more with less. I remember leaving here in '87 making $32,000, and the sheriff at the time, Don Moreland, which became, matter of fact, he just got inducted in the Hall of Fame for law enforcement. He's still alive, great guy. I learned a lot from him. He goes, Ruamen, I'm going to give you as if you were here 4 years, right? Because they speak like that. I said, okay. It was 16.9. I left 32,000 to make 16.9 and live in a trailer and on 3 acres. And I'm like, I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah.
I feel like I was in Wizard of Oz.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, and then there again, I tell you, they'll call you and say, hey, Ru, I need you to come in tomorrow. But I just got off. It doesn't matter. Labor laws does not. And I like it because it got everybody involved to listen. We got to help each other out. And that's where we got that community experience. And you work the jail. It's just because they hire you as a deputy on the street doesn't mean you're not going to work the jail. And I worked and I saw how the corrections officers work and they're overworked and the disrespect that they get and not the programs. And then I see the other side of the arrestees that really, bro, you want to be locked up in a little room. There wasn't too much. So I've seen that. And I said, if I ever become anybody or anyone, I'm going to change the system because we have to make it a better place. And they haven't. And I've also worked in the jail or in the corrections, in the court services, dealing with the bailiffs and the judges and the people that come into which is a lot to handle. But I think it was all good of my part of my education and my knowledge that, that helped me, that's why I wanted to, I was the first since 1966 to file for the sheriff's office in Miami-Dade County. That was our goal, and we did it. You can't take that away from us. We didn't get it. But I I wanted everybody to know that I'm back, and I want to make this county a better place for everyone. And we're here today.
There's moments in life where like things happen and you always wonder, man, what if it would have went the other way? Like in your case, I see two clear questions. One is like, man, what would have happened if you would have stayed in Miami in '87? You know, it would have been a totally different life, right? And then another question that comes to mind is, man, what if you would have became sheriff? You know, like during the election last year. It's life is funny that way. How like life is very different. It seems like there's two clear paths, more or less, but one way or the other, it's like a drastic difference. You know,
great question, because that's what happened to me. If it wasn't because I left up there and got the knowledge and the education that trajectorily sent me down here to know, I know that I was 100% right on getting the sheriff's race and doing the best that we could do. And if it wasn't because of that move, maybe I wouldn't have ran if I would have stayed as a policeman.
Right.
I might have not made rank, the knowledge and the experience I obtained when I moved up there. So I think if I would have stayed here as a policeman, I've always succeeded in everything I've done. So I knew that at least my vision was to be a chief for the city of Miami. And coming down, having the experience and running for the sheriff's office, I know for 100% from my heart that there's no one in the race that could have done the job that I was going to do for our citizens, because I've already come with the knowledge. It's a different culture that I've been saying, and they haven't changed anything on the candidate that took over. So I know that we would have changed. I would have made a big change with the community and those rehabilitating from the county jail, which is awful. You have people dying there and getting pregnant and heaven else, what else that's going on, and they still haven't cleaned it up.
That's wild. So, Ruamen, another thing, I remember you were big into the K-9 unit, right? Tell me a little bit about how that came about, how you got into that, and let's go through that.
Well, it's funny because, again, in 1988, the Marion County Sheriff's Office started their K-9 unit. But because I wasn't a chosen one, but I've always been into sports. I've always been into athletic, type of kid growing up in Hialeah. I did karate. I did play baseball for the leagues. So whatever I want, I put my mind on it and I get it. I'll go for it. So at that time, they had 3 openings. And I tried out. Even though I did well on the tryouts, I didn't make the position. I said, okay, no worries. So I continue being a deputy. They call me like 3 months later and says, hey, listen, would you like to come to K-9? I'm like, let's go. Well, what they failed to tell me is that one of the handlers they picked, the new ones, the dog ate him up.
Oh, wow.
It was an aggressive dog. And the guy said, I don't want to be K-9.
Right.
So they didn't come to me like, oh, you did good on the evaluation.
It's like, we got nobody else.
Yeah, but pretty much said, listen, this dog is an ass eater and we want you to have it. So sure enough, I get this dog. His name was Fritz. And listen, I'm not going to back down from anybody, as strong as I am. So I said, okay, let's go. So sure enough, I was training the dog bites me right here. I got a scar right here. So I'm younger. I think I'm 24. I went to correct it, and the dog was what they call handler aggressive. Not that he was a bad dog, but listen, he's the boss. And until you show him who's the boss, that's their right. They're dogs. That's why it's man's best friend. He knows better. So I went to correct him. Sorry about that. And I pulled the lead. And as I pulled the lead to correct him, he goes, "Pah!" Listen, I'm like this. And let me tell you, it didn't hurt. And I'm trying to get this dog off him. Finally, the trainer came off and got the dog off him. And the pain was so much when he released. I wish the dog would have stayed there. And I would have taken him to the hospital.
As soon as he let go.
Oh my God, that pain was beating. I mean, it was crazy. So that's how I became K-9 in '88. So in 89, 90, I was still in Canine, and Andrews happened. Well, before Andrew, I came down because my cousin, my family was still living here. So I came down personal to help with what I could.
Right.
So what happens is that week I came down to help my family in Andrew, and I get a phone call and say, "Hey, listen, you got to come back because you're going to be deployed to help the police department
Right.
or the county the following week." So I go down. I go back up. I go down. Now I'm down here with Canine. Andrew happens. A friend of mine at the time was a sergeant with me, or was one of my first sergeants in the city of Miami, moves up there and is running for sheriff for Marion County. And I'm loyal, so I'm supporting him. So while I'm down here, I help Andrew, la, la, la. By the time I come up, the election happened. He lost. When I came up there, they said, "Hey, you're no longer in Canine." They booted me out. They put me. So I learned the political way. They kicked me out and they put me back on patrol. But the funny thing is that they ended up retiring the dog that I had. And Nelson, you know, I'm not a dummy.
Right.
You know, I'm always trying to help people. So they retire the dog, and they retire me, put me back on patrol, and they keep whoever they kept. They went from 6 to 4 units or something, or 6 to 3. I'm like, okay. So a year later goes on, and this is my canine experience with Marion. Is I'm at home, they come to my door, and they the two bosses, a captain and a major, says, "Hey, so and so lost their dog. We'd like to see if you can give us our dog back that they gave me." And I was like, "I'm sorry, but he's part of the family now."
Right.
I didn't have kids at the time. I said, "He's part of the family. He's not ready to go." So they ended up not taking that dog, and and I stayed on patrol for many years. It was 2005 that I became sergeant. That day I got promoted. 17 years later, got promoted. And the last position that I would have thought I would have been involved in was canine, because they threw me out for whatever reason. They made me in charge of canine. They allowed me to from the ground up, change the uniforms, make it to where it should be. And I did, and I carried it for 3 years, 4 years, and leaps and bounds. We ended up from having 4 units or 4 canine units to 12. And then from there, we ended up hosting the United States Police Canine Association, which is a big thing in the canine world. And then also, a lot of people don't know this, but FDLE has a list of every unit and every law enforcement capacity in Florida. So when there's something that happens, FDLE has a list and says they'll reach out to you. Well, I ended up being the liaison for the cadaver dogs. And I never dealt with cadaver dogs in my life. It was only drugs or explosive and patrol dogs. But the cadaver world that we had between, we had a partnership with Miami-Dade Police Department. They had 2 dogs, Eric and Pete was part of the unit. We had somebody from Orange County, and then I had 6 cadaver dogs. So what I did with our dogs is I always believe in education, and knowledge is power. So what a lot of people think, one police dog can't do much. Them police dogs are any dog and has a mind, they want to do more. We as owners hinder their capabilities. So I found out that, listen, dogs want to work. So the only thing you can't do, you can't have an explosive dog do drugs for obvious reasons, because it's a smelling, and it's, it's drugs or explosives. You can't. So that was the only thing that I did not combine. But when I had a patrol dog that did patrol, drugs, and cadaver. That's one dog that does 3 things. And it found guns. They found people, missing people. They didn't have to be crime or violent. That one dog did all that. Here, they have one dog that just does one thing. They have 20 dogs, but they all do one. So I ended up cornering the market. I'm like, this is crazy. So we ended up having one dog had like 5 specialties.
Oh, wow.
They had cadaver, patrol, or drugs or explosives, plus, article searches, bad guys. I even trained with the Bloodhounds. So I had a unit. So when we had missing kids, like we had Trenton Duckett was a little kid up in Leesburg that got. They still haven't found him. They called us out to do a big search in the Ocala National Forest. So I took part in that. There's in Hendry County, there was a mother and a baby that was taken, and they dumped them in the land sewage garbage, and then we ended up. They got my team together, and I was the leader of that. So Canine was unbelievably a big part of my life, where I got to know thanks to 1988 for that guy getting bit and not being able to handle the police dog. That was my thing. And
is there any times you were involved in like bomb squad or like a big drug case or anything like that?
I didn't do explosives. I mean, other than train the dogs for the EOD dogs, but on drug cases, I was part of the high intensity drug inner division for the state of Florida, the North HIDA. And since I was a lieutenant commander of the Canine, I was involved with the drug unit, and we did have big cases to where, I was the onlooker, advising at least the Canine units what to do and how to do it. But we had several cases that of big magnitude that we ended up rounding up a lot of drug dealers, but I wasn't really involved. At one time I was in the drug unit, and back then crack was big. So back in 88, 87, 88, I was in the drug unit, and they gave me a certificate because I did 100 crack buys. And
that's a lot.
In 87.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So they used because I'm bilingual and I was new to the area. So, but I mean, I worked on and off with the drug unit. HIDA was the best thing was the drug interdiction back in the 90s that we ended up going to IPTM to show us how to really find how to do traffic stops. And there's more to it other than just pulling you over, getting your license.
Right.
So that education was very good. And I think it helped a lot in curbing the drug running because you had I-75, you got 441, 41, 19. So that was a great part, again, with Canine and also traffic unit. But I think I learned a lot in Canine thanks to the sheriff's office.
To my knowledge, you basically wrote the book up there on like training dogs and all that kind of stuff, right?
Well, I took what they had and I made it better. I made it better. Like I said, when I first got there, it was only obedience and drugs or explosives. But when I got back in 2005, there was such a big opening. I mean, drugs, explosives were like 25 cents that they had to learn of odor for a dog. The drug trade was more. There was ecstasy, cocaine, heroin. There was more. So it just opened up.
Right.
So I made it better. So no matter what it was, I made sure that we were the best in that profession. And it came back to, I got certifications on those. I just didn't want people to say, oh, that's bullshit. I said, no. So we had NAMP water certification. We had MPCA. Every certification that we worked for, I obtained a certification for our dogs to better our service and to make sure that the citizens and the department knew that, hey, we're safe. So that was my caveats. And then I took it to a different level. That cadaver program was the only one in Florida. I mean, if they would have called us out of Florida, we would have responded.
Was there any time where you had to respond to like a missing person and you found like a dead body or something?
Yes, it was in a national forest. There was a elderly man that was missing in the forest, and my team, myself and my canine, Titan, located the individual. So we've had great success on either locating the area that they were looking for, or we actually found somebody. Miami-Dade Police found several because they were on the cadaver team. So, you know, we had a good history, and I think we were well known back in that era. We're no longer there, so I don't know what they're doing now.
Ruamen, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on.
No, pleasure's mine, man.
I usually just ask a couple of questions to wrap up. So, what's next for Ruamen De La Rua?
Well, I'm still getting better on my rehabilitation.
He's a motorman, by the way. In case you guys didn't know, all the things he's done throughout his career, he also rode motorcycles as a cop. So
yes, and I was involved in that crash 2 years ago. But let me tell you, I gotta say, if your viewers are therapists, physical therapists, DPTs, PTs, let me tell you, those people are gods, and we need to support them, and we need to make sure that we take care of them, because you don't know how bad. I thought they were massages. I thought they were people that just gave massages.
Right.
And no, listen, I'm on a hardening program right now, and they're kicking my butt. And thanks to them, I work. I'm walking better, feeling better, and I just can't wait until I'm 100%. I'm 98%. So, and I've been chilling after the election. I just chill, as you can see. I really lay low, work, light duty. I come home, take care of the family, and live my life. And thank God to everything I got. And I really appreciate having a friendship with you. And
me too, brother.
Not only a friendship, family, but work. I was telling you before the shoot that a lot of people have reached out for me to make interviews, and I've denied all of them. And when you asked, you'd be the only social media that I would be partaking in it. So if anybody from out there, Channel 10, Channel 4, they want an interview, they're going to have to come here to get it done.
Appreciate you, brother.
You got it, buddy.
How do you want to be remembered?
Remember as a person of faith, family, and doing the right thing.
I love that. Do you believe in redemption?
Amen. I do. And anything I can do to help, count on me.
What's one of the biggest redemption stories as far as like that you've witnessed in your career?
Man, there's so many. There's so many.
It's hard to pick.
But there's you think that somebody that I've seen is I've seen people at their worst. And they actually were giving a little piece of help and made a big change in what they used to do. And, and then that's what, I'll carry with me.
Thank you, Ruamen. Appreciate you being
Got
on.
it, buddy. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's a wrap. All right.
Wrap, makeup, food.
All righty, guys. That was another episode of Honor Among Thieves with Ruamen De La Rua. Changing it up a little bit. We've had, we're typically all about the ex-cons and the reformed criminals and that kind of stuff, but coming at you with a different angle of the true crime stuff today. So thanks for tuning in. As always, push it to the limit. The world is yours. If you're not chasing a dream, life is meaningless, guys. Catch you on the next one. Say goodnight to the bad guy. So say goodnight to the bad guy.
You looking at the bad guy. This the last time that you ever see a bad guy like me. You don't have the guts to be who you wanna be.